And I'm Jonathan.
And today we're going to look at underarm turns, but very specifically we're going to look at what happens with the hands on underarm turns. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at how we change the clasp of the hands, because sometimes an underarm turn works better from this position, but we're not necessarily always there. Sometimes we're in this underhand clasp. So let's talk about that first. So far, we've all been dancing with our upper hand clasp. So what's going to happen is if he wants to change this clasp to an underhand clasp, first thing he's going to do, he's going to open up his fingers. As soon as I feel that he's opening up his fingers, I need to open up my fingers, right? This is why it's important that when you're in a dance position that you really hold on to each other, right? Because this tells me that we're just maintaining this position. As soon as the fingers start to get loose, maybe I don't know, and I start to let go as well. So he opens his hands, I open my hands. Now what's going to happen here is you're going to notice that he's going to take his hand, he's going to wrap it around the outside of mine so that we have kind of this perpendicular angle between our hands. Okay, so you can see here. I, as the follow, I'm going to give you just kind of a rule of thumb that for the most part holds. There will be exceptions once in a while, but for the most part, my hands open, they close, they go up, and they go down, right? There might be little changes here and there in the angles, but I'm not really going to have my hands facing me when I'm connected to my partner, right? The connected hands always face outward, away from me, right? So that means, A, I can't let my hands be turned, and when my hand is being turned by my partner, I have to arrange my body behind my hands, yeah? So again, in this case, when the hands open, he's the one maneuvering his hand, not me, right? So now we have this perpendicular position, right? So he's got very gentle pressure inward. I have very gentle pressure outwards. Now, from here, what's going to happen? He's going to start to take his hand down. My hand is going to follow his hand, so he's going to be able to pivot down. Notice that when he got to the point that he wanted to, he was able to wrap his fingers around my fingers, and I once again hold on to him. If we want to reverse that, it's the same thing. He opens his hand, he starts to take it upward, and he arranges his hand around my hand. I am never the one looking for him. Okay? So that's how we switch from upper hand clasp to lower hand clasp, and from lower hand to upper hand. Okay? Now, once we've picked whatever clasp we want, generally speaking, from our dance position, we're going to then do a turn to the right or to the left. We're going to start with underarm turns to right. So there's two major methods that we'll talk about. There are others, but we'll talk about two today. So one is a more palm-to-palm sort of action. So what's going to happen, he's going to open his hands, I open my hands. He's going to arrange his hand to face mine like we're giving each other a high five, right? So from here, he's going to angle his hand up and over, and I'm going to have my hand over my head like I'm carrying a platter, right? So we've got, again, gentle pressure towards each other. I'm not shoving my hand up, right? He's not pressing his hand up, but we are definitely connected. So what's going to happen here is now, keeping this pressure to each other, what's going to happen is he's going to draw a little circle around my head. And I'm going to keep that pressure. And again, I keep my arm in front of me. I don't go under my arm. I stay behind my arm. So as he draws that circle, it tells me where I should go. This type of handhold is best for spins if you're going to do something that's more in place, right? The advantages are it gives a lot of mobility of the hands, but the disadvantage is that you don't, as the lead, have a lot of grip, and as the follow, likewise. So when we need something that requires more grip, for example, a turn that requires walking, weight changes, we can use a different one. This one, what's going to happen is that he's going to loosen his hand. So he's not necessarily going to let go completely, right? He's going to loosen the hand. So he still has, if we look here, it's got kind of like a little ring going on, right? My hand is just going to loosen up. So now I've just kind of got my hands all tighty together. I'm going to release my thumb. If you have this kind of clasp, again, people have differing opinions about whether the thumbs cross or not. Either way, for the time of the turn, as soon as I feel him loosen up the grip, I'm going to get rid of that thumb. I need to tuck it out of the way, yes? So once he loosens that, now again, he can go ahead and turn the hand in a circle over my head, and my hand will rotate inside of his hand. You'll find that the disadvantage to this one is, again, it's easy to kind of grip each other too much and things like that. So it's not great for like leading fast spins necessarily, but it's very useful for guiding me to take a step in some direction, turn me in that place, and then guiding me to take a step in another direction. So you will use one of those two clasps depending on the type of figure that you're doing, okay? And finally, we have our underarm turns to left. This one is, in my opinion, one of the easier ones because we've got a much better handhold. So what's going to happen here is, again, as always, we've got to loosen up the handle. So he's going to open up his hand. I'm going to open up my hand. He's going to turn his hand across his face as if he was going to look at his watch. So if you look from his position, right, if he was going to look at his watch, right, that's the action. So we pivot the hands. Now, from here, he's going to go ahead and start turning his hand downward across my head, right? So he's basically pointing his fingers. He went from here to pointing the fingers down, okay? I'm going to arrange my hands around that. So as he points his fingers down, I then wrap my fingers, again, very loosely around his fingers, right? So now I'm almost like I'm holding an umbrella upside down. I know it's a strange idea, but that's roughly what I'm going to be doing, yeah? So we go from he's pointing his fingers down, I'm holding my umbrella upside down, and now he can actually pull me into a turn, right? So it's got a nice grip, and it can be used for either turns that walk or turns that spin in place or whatever he likes, yeah? Once we're done with said turn, right, so if we go and do our turn to left again, when he's done, what's going to happen is, again, he's going to start to, my finger's going to keep rotating, and he's going to open up his palm, and I'll open up my palm, and we'll once again resume this position. Or if he wants, he will go ahead and take the hand all the way down to the underhand clasp as he sees fit, yeah? There you go. There's some pointers on how to do some kinds of turns to right and left. Again, that's not an exhaustive detail of all types of turns, but it's a good place to get started.